Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultramarathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. Welcome back to the One More Hour podcast. Happy New Year. I hope all your January 1st ultra sign-up race registrations went through and you were able to get into the races that you wanted to sign up for. Today, I want to talk about something that I see come up over and over again, especially with runners who are curious about ultras but feel intimidated by them, or that there's maybe this huge cost to entry or cost to knowledge entry. And number two, for the ultra runners who want to improve their times, their distances, their performances, and how they think and feel during their ultras in 2026. So this episode is for both parties, and it's going to be about why you should run a backyard ultra or a timed looped event as your first ultra, or before your next ultra if you're already into ultras, to help you prepare for your A race or your next ultra that's coming up. Backyard ultras and timed events often get labeled as weird, extreme, only for a certain type of runner, a soft / not real ultra. I've heard that a couple times recently, but I actually believe that they're one of the best formats for runners who are ultra curious. They're stepping beyond the marathon. They aren't sure how far they can run, but they want to see what their potential is, or they're looking for a way to explore endurance without overwhelming logistics. Maybe you don't have a supportive family, you don't have a lot of running friends yet. And then on the other side, for the runners who have run ultras, I think it's great for what we're getting into in the episode today, but pacing, figuring out nutrition, figuring out gear, making sure you have everything nailed down, and seeing what you need to work on for the remaining of your training leading up to your bigger race. So I want to talk about why backyard ultras and timed events are such a powerful way to step into ultra running and to improve your ultra running, and what makes this format uniquely supportive mentally, physically, and logistically. So I have 5 reasons why backyard ultras and timed looped events are a great entry point into ultramarathons and running further in ultras. So we have the backyard format. If you're new at this episode, go listen to episode 1 when I talk about the rules and what a backyard format is. But backyard ultra, you run 4.167 miles every hour at the top of the hour. If you don't complete the loop within the hour, you are done. If you don't start, you're done. But you have to start at the top of every hour. There are also last man standing races that are a similar format, but the distance of the loop may be different. The timing that you have to run that loop may be different. And then you have timed events where you sign up to run for 24 hours or 32 hours or 48 hours, and you're going to see how far you can run within that period of time. So there's kind of 3 different formats that I want to talk about all as one, but I think they're all beneficial for jumping into your first ultra, experimenting, being ultra curious, but then also using the race and the format to help you go further and to perform better in your next ultra. So number 1, there's an asterisk by it, but technically no crew is needed. Yet you also have built-in community support at backyard ultras and timed events. So one of the biggest mental barriers to ultras is the idea that you need to have a crew. Like, you watch live streams, you hear people talk about having family or friends crew them, having pacers, having drop bags, a full support team a van or a camper just to show up. And while crew is absolutely helpful and often necessary to run for longer, we talked about it in episode 9, which is all about crew or going self-supported. You don't technically need a crew to be successful in a backyard ultra or most timed events. And if you don't have the support yet, or you really just want to test it out and go by yourself, this is a great format to try out. Because, again, you're running a shorter loop, anywhere from 1 to 10 miles. I haven't really heard of anything longer than a 10-mile loop. You return to the same place over and over again. You can grab or switch out whatever food and gear you don't want or you need. And aid volunteers and other runners are always nearby. So every single lap you get a reset and you also get a mental boost because you are seeing other runners. You are seeing other crew members. Other crew members will cheer for you, and the people set up next to you will also learn your name and talk to you and help you out. Volunteers will also start to recognize you the longer you are in the event. So in a backyard ultra, you start at the same time every hour with the same people. There's really that shared rhythm. There's a shared struggle. There's that shared commitment to showing up again and again and again. And that's a little different than a fixed time event. If you're going to be out running for 24 hours and you're going to see how many times you can run the loop, how far you can run, you're not necessarily going to be starting at the same time as all the other runners unless you kind of pair up with someone, which is very common, to notice, oh, we're running about the same pace. Let's pair up and talk to each other for a while and give each other company. But for all these events, you are truly never alone out there, even if you literally come to the race by yourself and you're self-supported. Number 2 is it is very easy to test gear and fueling. There is a lot more gear when it comes to trails and ultras. You have poles, you have hydration vests, you have you have required gear for a lot of races. Now you're out there for longer periods of time, so you're going to be carrying more water, you're going to be carrying more fuel than if you were out running a marathon on the roads. There's more to carry for trails and ultras. This format is great for testing out gear and fueling and hydration and all of the things because, again, you are back at your athlete village, your camp, every hour in the backyard format, and anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how long the loops are for the timed looped events. But this format is forgiving for that reason. And that means if a shoe isn't working, you can change it out in 45 to 55 minutes, however long you're taking to run that loop. If a fueling plan falls apart, you can pivot quickly. If your hydration feels off or you need more hydration or you need more ice, you only have to run 4 miles and you can fix it. If your stomach needs a bathroom break or even your stomach needs a break from fueling, give it an hour. If you forget something, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal for 45 minutes to an hour. But you don't have to carry much with you. That's a very positive thing about the backyard ultra. You're not committing to hours without support and having to carry things that you're going to need for 40, 50 miles. And that's what makes backyard ultras and timed events an incredible testing ground for, again, gear, nutrition, hydration, lighting, clothing layers, especially if you do have the goal of going further. This is my first backyard. I definitely want to do it again in the future, but I want to use this one to test it out for the one that I'm going to do in the fall. Or I want to run a 100-mile race, and I'm using this to figure out pacing and gear and nutrition when I'm going to have a crew and pacers, whatever it is. But this is a great grounds of experimentation for your future goals. And you're going to learn what works best for you, and you're going to figure a lot of things out before the consequences are much higher. If you've never run longer than 4, 5, 6 hours, it's hard to imagine what you're going to want to eat after 18 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, because you've never done it before. And you're not going to go out for a 48-hour long run before doing your first backyard ultra. Like, you're just not going to do that. So I highly encourage this, but you can work with a registered dietitian to figure out your nutrition and speculate what you're going to want for nutrition at hour 19 of your first backyard. But you're never going to know until you actually run that long, and it's going to depend on the weather and different circumstances. So this is an excellent training grounds, experimentation grounds for figuring all this stuff out for your next ultra, your next backyard, and so forth. Number 3, there are less logistics and there's less overwhelm with a looped format. So let's talk about logistics, because this is where a lot of runners get overwhelmed before they even sign up. This was one of my concerns with ultras as well. My 3 main concerns were, I don't have a lot of trails by me. I literally have 3 miles of trails south of my house and 2 miles of trails east of my house. But otherwise, I'm driving an hour or 4 hours or further to find trail systems. So that was my first concern. My second concern was I don't have a group of crew who would crew me for a race at that time, or so I thought. That's something a story I was telling myself. And then the third one was the logistics of drop bags, crew, pacers, figuring all the things out for the other people when I hadn't ever done it before. And that's where, after I did my first 50K and this first year backyard ultra popped up a couple hours from my house, I was like, this is the perfect time to test all this stuff out so that I can do it the real thing. I know what to do for my next backyard when I want to go really far. Back and timed events strip things way down. Again, there's no complicated course maps. There's no worrying about missing an aid station or getting lost and getting off course. There's no drop bag strategy to obsess over because your entire setup is literally your drop bag. There's no point-to-point transportation stress. You come back to the same place every loop. Your gear stays in one spot. Your routine stays consistent. Your crew, if you have one, doesn't have to chase you around the course or figure out logistics of getting to the next aid station and missing you and all of that. So here's the key. Simplified logistics, less stress, equals more mental and physical energy for running. The backyard is a mental game. This matters way more than people think. The backyard is a mental game. Yes, you have to have the physical fitness to run that far. If you don't have the aerobic capacity and the strength training to support it and the nutrition that supports all of that, you will get injured, you will run into problems and not be able to go as far in the backyard format. But once you have the foundational fitness for the backyard, it becomes a mental game. So when you can remove logistics that come into play for other point-to-point races, this is where you really test what you're capable of mentally, which again is a tool. You'll learn lessons, you'll learn things about yourself that you can continue to work on or apply for your next race. Number 4 is a built-in space to work on mindset and quick resets. Again, we talk a lot about mindset because the backyard is a mental game. This is where the backyard format really shines. So in a traditional ultra, when things get hard, your brain often jumps to, okay, but I have 15 miles until the next aid station. I have 75 miles left of this race. How am I going to do this? And although your training should teach you to kind of flip those and not look at how far you have to go, in the backyard ultra or in a timed event, you're never really faced with, I still have 100 miles to go. You're facing one more lap. 4 miles, less than an hour. It's very manageable. It's this bite-sized piece. It's very manageable. And each lap really becomes a check-in, a reset, opportunity to reassess. What do I need to change? What do I need right now? And you learn very quickly how your body responds over time, how your mindset shifts through fatigue, your emotions, and how they kind of rise and fall with how you're feeling and the longer you go. And instead of spiraling, you practice coming back to center again and again. And when you get back to camp, like, you've already done a self-check of how you're feeling, what you need to do when you get back to camp. You go do that stuff. You hear the 3 whistles go off. You have 3 minutes to get back in the corral. That's when you start getting ready. You hear 2 whistles. You're finalizing everything. You hear 1 whistle. Get in the corral. But it becomes a loop. And your brain knows what to expect. And that reduces this decision fatigue, which saves mental capacity to continue to run further and to go further in the race. So again, you come back to that starting point over and over and over again, and that format teaches resilience in small, repeatable doses. It is incredible once you do a backyard ultra and you realize how easy it is to get back up, to start again, because I'm at a loss of words right now on how to describe it, but it's become such a pattern for your brain. Your brain knows what to expect. It's a repeatable pattern. It's a habit that you hear those whistles and it's go time. Like, you might have been questioning, like, oh my gosh, I'm tired, I'm sore, I have blisters, this, like my stomach is off when you were out on that loop. But once you get back to camp and you reset and you practice this reset over and over and over again, it's incredible how you forget about that stuff and you just get back up. And that's what I want for every runner out there, is to learn how to reset and to keep going hour after hour after hour, whether that's in running or that's in life. Number 5, it redefines what success looks like. And this might be the most important point. But a lot of runners are scared of ultras because they view them as all or nothing. I either finish or I fail. I either cross the finish line and get my 100-mile buckle, or I get a DNF. I don't want a DNF. When I talk to runners about going to ultras, and I have an athlete who has great potential for ultras based on their training and what they enjoy and what they're good at and their strengths and their weaknesses and all of that. And when I bring up ultra running to them consistently over and over and over again, they all say, I don't want a DNF. That's the first thing they say. There's a lot of all or nothing thinking. And I know it comes from type A perfectionism, it comes from childhood, it comes how there's so many aspects from your life that this comes from, but it's very common in runners, and I don't think it should be that way. So if you've only ever ran, because running a half marathon or a marathon, you're still in like the 0.01%. You're still incredible. 99 point whatever percentage of people do not do this. So if you've ran a half marathon or a marathon as your longest distance, if you don't know if you can run 100 miles, they're like, 50 miles, you're like, 100 miles is a no-go right now. But I've ran a marathon. I'm pretty sure I can do a 50K because that's just 5-6 miles longer depending on the course that you're doing. 50 miles, I don't know. I've never ran that far. Sign up for a backyard ultra because I think you will surprise yourself. I think you will be able to go further than 50. I see a lot of runners when I talk to them before the start of the race, and they're saying that their distance is to run their first ultra, a lot of times if they don't put that as their A goal, they go further. And it's incredible when you go into the backyard or timed events without a pre-decided distance, and you go in with curiosity of, I don't know what I'm capable of, but I want to find out, and I'm not going to put a limit or a cap on what I'm going to run. The backyard allows for that, compared to signing up for a 50K or a 50 mile. Maybe you signed up for your first ultra was a 50K and you finished, you're like, this was not harder than a marathon. Or you sign up for a 50 miler, you're like, that wasn't too bad. I wonder how much further I could have gone. The backyard allows for that because you don't have to stop at 50 miles. You don't have to stop at 75 miles or 100K or whatever it is. You discover what you're capable of. You get to ask, how far can I go today? What happens if I keep on choosing one more hour? And when you stop, although it's technically a DNF, you're not a DNF. You're a runner. You're a person who explored their edge and maybe ran further than ever before. You discovered things about yourself. You learned new things. You already have more ideas of what you could do in training or what you could do during the race to go even further next time. And that shift alone changes how many runners relate to endurance for the rest of their lives. Discover your capabilities. Ask, how far can I go today? Show up curious and don't pre-decide that distance. Don't put a cap on it. So if you are feeling curious about ultras but overwhelmed by the ideas of logistics or crew or committing to 100 miles or 200 miles or whatever it is, or you have run ultras and you're trying to figure out things and practice and experiment for your bigger race this year, a backyard ultra, a last man standing, a fixed time event may be exactly where you need to start. And if you want help with training, if you want help with mindset, definitely listen to the rest of the episodes. If you enjoy learning about how to use formats like the backyard ultras to go further than you think you can, this is also what I help my athletes do. I coach athletes who have ran backyard ultras. Some have backyard ultras as their A goal for 2026, last man standing races, fixed time events, fixed distance events. But you can just reach out, please. Message me on Instagram if you have any questions. If you're interested in coaching, I'd be more than happy to chat and help you. But until next time, just go one more lap, one more hour, or even one more step forward. Thanks for tuning in to One More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard. And share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going one more. Connect with me on Instagram at the One More Hour Podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go one more hour.